Thank you. Thank you all for the warm welcome. And without any further delay, let's start with the first presentation of the day. I don't think I have to introduce her. So please, Špela.
Okay, so I was really hoping that I will be able to come to this stage today and say, we did it. We submitted our clinical trial application. We have been working for the past weeks and days and months, insane hours, almost every weekend, late nights, and for the past days, more than 18 hours per day. We didn't do it, we didn't submit it yet, but we have prepared all of the documents needed. Everything is prepared and ready. The only thing missing is kind of a final decision between the medical team to select the best dose for the children. So we are almost there. And so I'm asking you one thing, because we were working so hard to reach to this moment and to be able to say this, can we just all pretend that it was submitted? Please. Okay, so now I would like to take a few minutes to really thank all of the team that has been helping and supporting throughout these years. There has been an enormous work and enormous effort of the whole team to come to the point where we are right now. And I will just go through every person and say a few words in not any significant or important order, because everyone here played an incredibly important role. But I do want to start with my husband. I would like to thank Samo for supporting and for not saying taking care of our children because he's their father, but making sure that they are safe and they have a good time. And also for buying me an incredibly uncomfortable couch. So it was easier for me to work than to actually lay. I want to thank Laura. She's our newest member. She has been putting so much work and so much effort and a lot of heart into all of this. I feel like she has brought this organization and confidence to the team. Yeah, and we are really happy to have you. I want to thank Bruno. He's not just the technical guy, he's much more than a technical guy. You have become someone I can call any hour, anytime, and you sometimes solve the most impossible things. You have also created an amazing app that is not just for CTNNB1 Foundation or Cure and Connect, but is for the whole global community. And I think you're kind of putting together all of us. Thank you very much for that. I want to thank again Esti Baliz, the president of the Spanish organization. I don't think she's here. Is she here? No, of course, she's not here because she's taking care of some of our children. She really wants to make sure that she's there and everyone is safe and she has things under control. Because like anyone here, she doesn't trust anyone with the children. So I want to thank her and also Anna. She has been also a very important part throughout this journey. Very on point, very organized, and we are also very lucky to have you. So Esti, Ana, and the whole Spanish organization for being so organized, for taking all of the work, all of the job to making this happen. Thank you very much. I would also like to briefly thank and mention the family network, Efi, Sneha, Mirila, Catherine, Lucy, Emily, and all of you here. This all belongs to all of us. I would like to thank our not official, but very important fundraising team. So the people who has helped in Slovenia support and fund this project. So those are first Larisa Štoka and Katarina Podgajski. You may remember them, the Palčica Pomagalčica. You have shown what it means to care really deeply. Thank you for crying with us, fighting with us, and never giving up. I want to also thank Ratko. He's our camera guy. Where is he? Yeah, he's probably doing something with a camera. So he's very afraid of flight. And I always have to convince him to come, but he always do it without a thought. So I want to thank him for capturing those moments much more beautiful than any words can say. And I also want to take a moment to thank the Spanish camera team. They're actually doing a documentary about all of our community story, how we kind of brought together the families, the researchers, the community. And I also want to thank them for being here today and for advocating for us and giving us a bit more space in this world. I want to thank all of the patient-driven organizations, Terry, Julia, Pat, Amber, for showing us that even though we are just parents, we can actually move mountains with the urgency we have. I want to thank our independent consultants. They are, of course, much more than that. I want to thank Shivang, who was here kind of from the whole start. It's really nice to see you. I didn't have a chance to hug you. I want to thank Rodney. I want to thank Ruth. He's here with us today. He will present the biodistribution data. Basil, Elise, and Joy, and you cannot imagine how many more people were involved into this work. Now, the medical and clinical team. I want to thank our future chosen PI, Dr. Damjan Osredkar. Thank you for driving this story with us. Thank you for being with us before we had any data, when there was just a crazy idea. Thank you for walking this journey with us, and we really have a lot of trust in you. I want to thank Peter Štacepan. He's our neurosurgeon. Thank you for choosing to do something truly innovative. Thank you for leading this surgical site of gene therapy. You will also be able to hear his presentation today. I want to thank our physio team, Petra, Mojca, Alinka, for coming all the way from Ljubljana to support the clinical examinations. I want to thank the Oxford team, the Laurent Survey, the Charlotte, and the beautiful Fiona, who is sitting here with us today. I want to thank you for being the backbone of the clinical trial protocol and the natural history study. Thank you for your weekends, for your nights. I know you worked very, very hard. And I want to thank you for pushing our boundaries to, to reach your Oxford kind of a world class. And I believe you have given us more than just your time. You have given us your heart, and we will never forget it. I also want to thank Michelle Ferrar from University of Sydney. She has been kind of putting together the Australian clinical trial and the community, and we think that the natural history study in Australia should also start this summer. I want to thank the Spanish team, Amaya, Mercé, Maitane, and all the other Spanish examiners I do not mention now, that have been helping with the clinical examinations and just really caring about everything goes well and that the children are well taken care of. I also want to thank Sofia, Joanna, Barbara, and probably some more people I did not mention. I apologize in advance. I want to thank Leszek, if he's here. Is he here? Yes. Just making sure before I say too much. I want to thank you because you have developed a vector that will actually go to our children's brain. It's a huge thing. And not just that, he has been kind of the person that has been always there for advice, for strategy, for long-term thinking, and has grown now to not be just a person, but also a very close friend. Yeah. I also want to thank Andrea. She's actually the person who was in the lab doing the job. I want to thank you for your precision, for your care. You have been kind of the quiet power behind a lot of the work that has been done. So thank you for always being there for us, for your reliability, for caring, for not giving up. Yes, she also needs a big applause. She's very important. Yeah. I want to thank Duško. He's a bit embarrassed now. I want to thank you for your hard work, for your late nights, for your days off your normal job, for living with the same urgency that we live. You do care about science, about kids, and also about doing it in the right way. And I also want to thank Vida. She's also here, thank you. I want to thank Jose, Jan, Ursula. They have been also helping with the preclinical work. Some of them are here, some of them may be watching, but were also very important. I also want to thank Varalgen. They are the ones who have been manufacturing our product. I want to thank you for agreeing on me pushing and doing what was needed to be done to really manufacture high quality product. I pushed and they delivered, so a very good partner. And I also want to thank our clinical trial CRO, Mario. Unfortunately, he's not with us today, but he has been also working very hard for the past few weeks to kind of gather a lot of the documents that were needed to be able to submit to the clinical trial. And of course, I think I mentioned the ALMAC group. Yes, the ALMAC group. So they're responsible for packaging, labeling, distribution. It's a lot of the things. So I'll just go briefly over kind of the few critical things about our foundation. So the CTNNB1 Foundation was established in February 2021 after it obtained an official consent from the Ministry of Health Slovenia. And then it was officially registered as a non-profit institution on the 7th of March 2021. The CTNNB1 Foundation has three main missions. One of the missions is to develop, but also to support any kind of treatment solutions that have a good chance to reach to the clinical trial. The second goal or the mission is to build knowledge about the disease. This is something I'm very passionate about and all of our clinical team as well. CTNNB1 syndrome is a newly discovered disease, so we don't know much and we don't have any kind of a clinical practice guidelines or any kind of standards of care that should be achieved. So there's a lot of work that still need to be done. And the third mission is to connect researchers to exchange the knowledge, to apply to grants, do the projects together, but also to connect families, because I'm a big supporter of social support. What are we passionate about? First of all, we are passionate about our children. We want to give them a chance, and we want to show the world that also the nonprofit organization is able to drive with urgency such a development. We want to show that families and scientists can work together and that no child is too rare to be worth of the investment. We care about the science that matters, the science that not just produces the publishments and feeds the egos. We want to support research that have a real shot at research becoming a therapy for our children. And of course, we are very passionate about families. We understand how it is living with a CTNNB1 child. We know how hard it is being, sleepless, having sleepless nights. We know how hard it is to being a lot of the time exhausted physically, emotionally, and dealing with unpredictable aggression. We know how it feels, the grief of the things you will never be able to do as a family, and the grief that actually comes with every single milestone that your child does not achieve. We also see and feel how the siblings are experiencing all of that. We know how hard it is for them, and we know how hard it is for us to watch them. We know how hard it is to having looks in a public when your child is being aggressive towards you, and you have to be strong for your child, for their siblings, and pretend like everything is okay, where inside you're actually dying. And we know how hard it is living actually with a question, what will happen to my child when I'm gone? So last year we have had this focus groups. So I believe that the standardized questionnaires, although really good, do not really assess what the families are going through and what actually the children are going through. So we made that focus groups to explore their experiences, the real life of the families. And we also explored the fears of the families. And one of the sentences of one of the father really touched me. It's really scary, but it's also very true. He said that, I just have one wish, and that is to my child to die before I do. And I think it's a very, very scary thought, but it's also very real because you're living with that every day. The urgency, I feel everybody who knows me, they know that I should probably put that on the first thing. It's something that is very important to me. It's something I feel every single day I've been living. Something we have been fighting very, very much throughout the program. Sometimes more quietly, lately more loudly, because I think we really need to move forward and make a decision and finally do this. I think that even though our children are not dying, we don't have that per se, that survival problem. Our children still have a very serious disease. And so I think that's very important when we think about the urgency. Overcoming language barrier. I'm also very passionate about giving every children a chance, regardless where he's coming from, regardless which language. And I think all of our team has been moving in the direction of kind of allowing, clinical psychologists or physiotherapists and offering translations to be able to accommodate different languages. So now I'll just briefly explain an overview of the years 2021, 2025, just to give you a bit overview of what has been happening over these years. So as mentioned, in year 2021, the CTNNB1 Foundation was founded, and then really quickly the multidisciplinary team was formed. And then really early on, we jumped on a fundraising activities. We started walking with Urban, with Palčica Pomagalčica, and we signed a research agreement with SMRI to support AAV9 gene therapy. In that time, we also initiated the genotype-phenotype correlation study with Dr. Damian Sritkar, and we partnered with Palčica Pomagalčica, but also with a Spanish organization that has been here helping us, being a real ally from the beginning. During the first year, we were able to raise $500,000 with a fundraising campaign, Walking with Urban. And then in the second year, we worked on development of cell and mouse model. Basically, we brought that program from the start. We phenotyped the mouse model, and we continued with the effort of genotype-phenotype correlation study. And by that time, we already included 125 patients from all around the world who gave interview with Nina, who is also here, who you may know her. She did interviews with 125 children, and she has been also a very, very important part of our team. I don't know if I mentioned you earlier. I'm really sorry. Yeah, thank you, Nina. In that year, we also started testing AAV9 construct in neurons and brain organoids, and we continued with fundraising efforts, Walking with Urban. And by that time, we fundraised 1 million euros with that campaign. And so in year 2023, we had much more research activities because our vector was already produced. We already have proof of concept data in vitro. And so we started with our 20-week efficacy study with Charles River, and also at SMRI, they started with a 10 months long-term safety study in wild-type mice. We also supported other therapies to not have all of the eggs in one basket. And we had a meeting with Innovation Task Force to get advice on our gene replacement therapy program. We organized our first international CTNNB1 conference in Madrid. And we also licensed the gene replacement therapy product from the SMRI, which means that we kind of were able to take the development further, to do the efficacy study, to do the manufacturing, to do the toxicology, and at the end of the day, to run the clinical trial. And by that time, we also continued with the fundraising efforts. And by that time, 2.5 million euros was raised. In year 2024, we finally initiated the manufacturing activities with ViralGen. That will be also presented later, but just briefly, that is a very long process. It takes from 1.5 to 2 years to do first the 2 liter, the 50 liter, the 250 liters, and do all of the quality control testing to make sure that the vector is really safe and also high quality. And we organized our second international CTNNB1 conference in Ljubljana, and we run our first natural history study. We ran focus groups to explore experiences with families, and we were able to change a law now named Urban Leaks, which was a really good law because it's not just giving our program 1 million, but it's also allowing any other gene therapy program for orphan diseases that is entering, that has completed the proof of concept data. And we are really proud of that. We also initiated a 1-month non-GLP toxicology study and a 3-month GLP toxicology study in mice with our manufactured product. And we received scientific advice back from the competent authorities. And by that time, we had 4 million raised. In year 2025, we continued with the clinical trial preparations. A lot of the work we had no idea existed, from investigational brochure to clinical trial protocol, to insurances, to IMPD documents, to different documents, contract with hospitals, to packaging, labeling the vials, and then we have by now already completed the safety and efficacy studies. So we are kind of just waiting for the last decision, and then we are good to go. We have launched our CTNNB1 newsletters, and we have participated on many conferences to get valuable advice. We have applied a grant to do clinical practice guidelines, so the children around the world will be able to be given kind of the same care. And just recent news, we have submitted our orphan designation to the EMA, and Elise will be able to explain later what that means. What it means to me as a parent, it means to me, and it was approved. So that orphan designation was approved by the EMA. That orphan designation has different meaning. Probably to the commercial sponsor, it means more because they're giving like a market exclusivity we don't really care about. But what it means to me as a parent, it means that the EMA has finally recognized CTNNB1 as seriously debilitating disease. So, yeah. And we have received a green light from the regulatory agency to submit our clinical trial application once we are ready. This year with Laura, we have been working on financial report because we really feel it's important to be transparent. You can go on our website or you can use a QR code. It's unfortunately only available in English at that time, but you can use different AI programs. Bruno can help you with that to offer it in your language as well. I will just briefly explain through the years what has been happening. I want to say that this is the first time we are doing this, and I had no idea we need to raise 5 million to go to here. I had no idea. I had in my mind, not in my mind, but based on with other people I've been speaking, like 2 million. And this is the cause that we have presented to the people, to the media. And then it was 3 million, and then 4 million. And then we didn't know we need to do the packaging and the labeling. And that costs 150,000 euros. You know, it's incredibly insane. And the costs when you go closer to the clinical trial are getting crazier. So I do want to apologize for the confusion or for, you know, saying too early, we need just this, but then it's more. But I really thought it will be less. On one hand, I'm very happy that I thought it was less, because if somebody told me you need to get 5, actually, I think Leszek told me you need 5 million, but I didn't believe it. But if somebody told me that we would need 5 million 5 years ago, I don't know what I would do. So just briefly, as I said, in 2021, we initiated fundraising efforts. A lot of the money came from urban fundraising, but we as a family, we also gave a lot of the money to this project. We also got some small sponsorships, and the main expenses were to University of Sydney, so to develop the vector, but also for the testing in vitro. So here are just some photos of our fundraising activities. I've shown them many times, so I just don't want to do it anymore. And then in second year, we continue with working with urban fundraisers. We continue with our family support, and also the Spanish Association started their fundraising goals, and in the Italian Association as well, and also some of the families who have supported us. So in that year, we started paying at the end of the year to Charles River, so that efficacy study. We also supported the RNA therapy to National Institute of Chemistry. We supported the CTNNB1 conference with the donations we received from the companies, and also some others. And here are just a few photos of this one I really like. It's from the first year of the conference. This is a bit of mistake. So in the 2023, we got a big grant from Palčica Pomagalčica, $500,000, that has been helping with fundraising activities. We continued with urban fundraising and founder donation. There was also a big fundraising activity, Lucy fundraiser in the USA, and the Spanish Association helped, and also other families have supported. We also got a grant from the EU for supporting our CTNNB1 conference. We also got a basketball team. I don't know if any one of you know Luka Doncic for that bad trade that happened. So he also helped. We organized a huge conference in my country. And we also visited Varal Jane to get contract in place to start manufacturing. So year 2024 has become very expensive. And also our fundraising activities stopped a bit because we promised my country to do 2 million and then it was not enough. So we went back, which was extremely difficult, asking for more. But at that time, the government got involved and we were able to change a law, to amend the law. And so the government gave 1 million to support that. We organized our second conference and run the natural history study. This is a picture of our Ministry of Education. Very happy, me very happy after signing the contract of the 1 million. We also visited different conferences. The one that was last year was in Italy. Oh, this is not complete. So year 2025, I will move forward with it. We got one grant agreement. And again, the CTNNB1 families helped support with funding. The Spanish Association did a really good job with fundraising. And we also got some other donors. And again, the expenses started to raising to the point I got really, really worried. So Andrea here presented our work at the ACGCT, so one of the biggest conferences in the US. I've been also attacking people at conferences. He's actually a very famous guy. His name is Jude Samolsky, and he's the pioneer of gene therapy. We have been also very active in clinical activities. I will just briefly mention that because you will hear all about that during the conference. So the genotype-phenotype correlation study, that study went from 2021 to 2022, involved 125 patients from 24 different countries. Nina will tell you more about that study today at 10:30. And then the natural history study, this is the second year we are running it. So last year we started it in Ljubljana. And this year we worked really hard to also make families not needed to travel. So this year we have offered more dates. We have had 2 dates in Slovenia. We have had this opportunity for families to participate. We are also working with the US IRB to submit and to be able to run a natural history study during the US conference in July. And we are also working with a Canadian hospital to be able to offer them opportunity there. And Michelle Ferrar is helping and supporting that the Australian families will not need to travel as well. And that study will be presented by Fiona tomorrow at 10 a.m. Regarding the focus groups, that was also done last year during the conference, and we also had 2 groups today. So the presentation today will be made by Tina Nikolic, and she will present basically just data from last year. And then the clinical practice guidelines, this is something I'm really passionate about. It's kind of a right now just a protocol of these multi-year initiatives to develop the first evidence-based clinical practice guidelines. So, and also to train doctors around the world that they will be able to provide the same care to the families. Because I do feel that right now we do have enough knowledge, about spinal cord anomalies, about fever, about spasticity, dystonia, and that, the doctor shouldn't go each by, separately on the computer and read about CTNNB1 syndrome, or even worse, the families need to advocate for that. I really do feel it will be much better for the families if there are, agreed consensus on clinical practice guidelines and making sure that the doctors are actually using them. So I will present that later today. Gene replacement therapy activities, Leszek Lisowski will be able to explain to you a bit more what gene replacement therapy is. just kind of give you an overview so you can understand better later presentations. And then Andrea Perez-Iturralde will be explaining the proof of concept, so the initial in vitro testing and the efficacy testing in mice. Ruth will present the biodistribution data. So basically, when they injected the vector into the body of the mice and the non-human primates, where in the body did it go, and what can we learn from it to use it in a clinical trial protocol? Duško will present the safety and the toxicology we did in mice. We had a lot of studies in mice, and also the non-human primates data. And then Dr. Peter Štețepan also today will present which was the selected optimal route we have decided to go for and how does that look like. And then tomorrow, Elise will present this regulatory, complex regulatory path of actually submitting the clinical trial and what it means after, you know, when the first 12 patients are being treated, what is the next path. And then Damian will explain the protocol we have at the moment for the clinical trial we aim to start this year. So as you can understand, we don't have any pharmaceutical company. We don't have anyone that can support this research. We are relying on ourselves, basically. The pharmaceutical company doesn't find us interesting enough in terms of, you know, investment. So basically everything what we have done have been made by the families fundraising for this. And the closer we are to the clinical trial, the higher expenses. As you can see on the current balance, this is the balance, the check of the balance I had on the 14th of June. And at the moment, we have around $500,000 on our bank account. And as you can see on the left table, this is the table, what are the expenses. I really hope that this is all, but I cannot guarantee. This is the expenses we need to cover until September. So we need to pay for the clinical manufacturing, what is left. We need to cover the toxicity, the toxicology, GLP in mice, the biodistribution, some expert support for the documents, the clinical trial protocol development, the clinical trial activities, and some additional potency testing. And some of the organizations have been really, really kind, offering us delay in payment, and we really want to thank for that. And so to even reach the clinical trial, we need to fundraise €500,000, which is insane, but I think we can do it. And after that, we also put a lot of thinking, you know, what does that mean for the families? I've been really hoping we will be able to, you know, to be really fair, to really include, you know, regardless of anything, the families. But looking at it now, I don't think the first phase 1-2 will be completely fair to all of you. The reason why is because the families will need to cover their own living expenses when living in Slovenia. So that will not be on the foundation. And of course, it is a big burden to take time off. The work, it's also a financial burden. And so I know that all of you cannot do that. So in that way, it will not be fair. But after, you know, family agreeing and, you know, inclusion criteria in Damian, you know, select the most optimal candidates, we can help the family to fundraise for what is needed to be able to do that. So basically, after the family will be selected, we can enter the fundraising activity specifically for that parent. And we will need to cover the insurance for each parent specifically. And we need to cover the hospital stay during the trial. There is no other way. The only other way would be to stop everything, fundraise as a community, but I'm sure that would cause like a 1 year of a delay. And we already know that there is a, you know, long waiting period between one and a second patient. And I don't think that is the right way. And that will be all explained a bit later with Damian, but I just want to give you a bit of overview of the timeline. So this is the wrong date because I was hoping we would submit by Monday, but it should happen in the next few weeks or days, I'm hoping. So after that, the regulatory agency have 10 days to validate the submission. After it's validated, they have 45 days, so not working days, but one day after another, to evaluate and to give comments. After that, we have 14 days to write comments and revisions. And after that, they have 30 days to say yes or no, no more questions. And given that we had a lot of regulatory advice before, I do not expect any problems in that. So I do believe that we might be able to start with a clinical trial in this year. And so right now, we don't know exactly how the clinical trial protocol is going to look like. We are still deciding, they are still deciding whether it's going to be low or high dose or just one dose. But definitely there will be different cohorts of patients. And the first cohort of patients will be patients age 6 to 12. The reason why the regulatory agency advised us to use that age is because the majority of data was gathered on animals during that age group, and they believe this is the safest age group in terms of the immune response. But I'm very committed to also think and also to work very hard to include older patients if the data will allow us to do so. So expenses and current budget, we currently have a funding gap of $500,000 to fundraise to September. And also very importantly, in my imaginary world, totally romantic, I am envisioning in a way that, we really need to work together hard as a community to, to fundraise for the first few patients. And then I have a plan to apply for different grants. We really should rely on public funding. And so there are several grants we are currently looking after. The Horizon, this grant we should apply by September 2025, and it's in amount of 8 million, and clinical trial is included as well. There is one US grant that I was nominated for. The submission is in July and it starts in January, and it's in the amount 2 million, with which we could also cover some of the hospital expenses for the families who could not afford it. Damian also mentioned the Slovenian grant, which is a bit smaller, but we also are going to look at it. And then there is a big grant, the US grant, the Californian Institute of Rehabilitation Medicine, but we need to have the FDA submitted to do that. So just kind of at the final words. Our biggest challenges right now, my biggest challenge right now is that we are racing against time. I feel this urgency I cannot explain, that our kids are growing without potential treatment means the lack of opportunity for their development. The biggest challenge is also that the trial is insanely expensive. And despite all of this progress, we still need to raise a lot of the money to even start. The challenge I have personally is that not everyone will get it right away. So we need to be very patient, and I'm sure it will be very emotional and very hard for the families, but this is done in a way to actually protect us. It's a global puzzle. So as you can, I've been sending anonymous survey to you, kind of gathering the interest, would you like to come to the clinical trial to Ljubljana? And I also offered some space for comments. And we do understand that for the international families, we will need to work very hard to navigate these, documents and translators and visas and coordinating. That will be a massive task. But we did receive a positive opinion from the ethical committee that even families who are not speaking the language, English or Slovene, are able to participate. And we will offer translators for that. We are a very small team doing everything. We do not have too many dedicated people, to be working from, 6 and 6 p.m., which I would like. So we are kind of at the point of burnout. And after the first patients are being treated, we need a plan what comes next. new trials, new countries, what do we do with everything? What if we will not be able to fund it? Do we give it to the company? But what if company will not care about our children? So those are very difficult questions. I'm also having it in my mind. So I think the main message from the CTNNB1 Foundation is that every child deserves a chance. I'm a really big advocate for that. And here we have Zeki. Here we have Daniel. Here we have Luisa. Here we have Luis. Here we have Nora. Here we have Elsa. Here we have Ariana and Louis and many other children, because we don't have enough time, saying that these children are not just the names, they are the children who really need our help and our support. Thank you everyone for coming here, and I'm really excited to be spending the next 2 days chatting with you.